For attending our webinar, and welcome to Veloso Tours webinar on India. My name is Paulo Veloso. I'm the Managing Director of Veloso Tours, and I will start this presentation with an introduction to Veloso Tours and our fascination with India. You will see here that the people in India, the cultures, the beliefs, the temples, the way of life, is just fascinating. And as we say, India is a must. And after this introduction, I will hand over to my colleague, Marianne, who will present a sort of alternative on traveling in India, going to villages, lodges, and seeing local life. Then my colleague Berenice will talk about Rajasthan. And we have our guide, Chetan, joining us from Rajasthan at the moment. He's there now. And then afterwards, we will have my colleague, Sanjay, who's also joining us from India, talking about Kerala and the south of India, as well as some boat trips that are available in India. And then Hugh, my colleague Hugh, will go through Veloso Tour itineraries so that we can see how we can put together all these various places to visit, all these various places. And at the end, we will have a question and answer, answering any questions that you may have. So I would ask you to use the chat button on the Zoom. You have where to send any questions that you may have to Berenice, and she will collect them, and we'll go through the questions at the end. And also like you for possibly a bit of patience in case any technical issues arise, because we have joining people from Europe, India, the UK, and various destinations. So we hope that all the technology works. But if it doesn't, we'll sort it out, I'm sure. The ethos of Veloso Tours, our uniqueness, let's say, as we try to define, is to provide authentic experiences, enhancing your visit by focusing on your interests and then sharing an understanding of local life, people, and customs. And you can see here one example of a picture that I happen to have taken of a street in India, perfectly natural, a busy street where somebody is having a haircut and somebody is having a shave, and there's people selling things. And it's just so different from anything that we are accustomed to, and so normal, and everything works very well. We provide private tours and bespoke itineraries. And one of the main factors is the expertise of the local guides, because it would not be possible to go and wander around the back streets or go and run around the streets alone without knowing where one is going. So really the guides, local guides, bring to life everything that you experience and explain and look after each person. We've had over 20 years of dealing with this type of trips. And everything works well. Now, in the current situation with COVID, first of all, I'd like to share our thoughts with our colleagues in India for the current situation, and hope that this will be able to overcome this. Before the webinar, we were just talking about how India produces the most vaccines and oxygen, and so we hope that this will be a short situation that can be resolved quickly. So we're not really going to talk much about COVID, because we expect that when you are going to travel, potentially, it will be a different situation, and we'll be covering whatever measures there are in place at the time when you're going to travel. Suffice to say that travel insurance, there is travel insurance available to cover COVID. So we will look into that at the time when you want to go. In the last few months, we have been busy producing a new brochure for Latin America. We've now made numerous improvements to the website. We have a new feature with new tours and new images. And this feature allows you to download itineraries. You can set the departure date, and then you can see the itinerary to experiment with various options. You can have a day by day, so seeing what you would be doing each day for all the itineraries on the website and brochure. India, in reality, is so much more like a continent. And so on this occasion, we are going to concentrate more on the western part of India, and we'll have some other webinars possibly for other parts of India, because there's just so much to see of local life and monuments and very different personality in the different regions. So we're concentrating on the west of India now. To get there are numerous flights. You have a wide range of options, from direct flights to flights connecting flights and flights from regional airports and to a variety of cities. It is necessary to have a visa, but it's an easily obtained visa or electronic visa, so that there's lots of possibilities in there. And in terms of domestic travel, there are internal flights. There's an extensive train network. Here we have a picture of my colleague Berenice on a local train, making friends with local people who happen to be there and sharing, as they share the meal with her. But there are also some very luxury trains and trains of all types. So that's quite an experience, and it's a very extensive network that works very well and on time, in my experience, when I took trains. You can also travel by car with a private driver. It's reasonably cost effective compared with other parts of the world. So the private driver and the car is very important to be able to make detours and stops along the way. It's an excellent way to transport between the various destinations. Now, I wanted to start also now to give you an idea of what a day on a trip. This is me outside a train station built by the British in Mumbai. As you can see, the interior is beautifully decorated. And so we wanted to have an experience of being on excursion, what the day-to-day represents when you travel on a tour. So in a day, you might go and see some sites, eat in a local restaurant. This was only possible because of who I was traveling with. I was traveling with someone who speaks the language, who's very energetic and enthusiastic, and the guides also made it possible to visit all these. And this is very much an introduction to the day-to-day, the kinds of things you can see with monuments and archaeological sites and day-to-day life. And of course, in India, as we all know, the cows roam around, and it's perfectly normal to have. And we have markets, which can be rather sort of messy in one way, but it's perfectly easy to overcome. You have shoes that you can take off before going to the hotel and just use the day out to go out for the day, and then they can be cleaned. So it's perfectly feasible to go everywhere. And this is a good example that I wanted to include of the fish market in Mumbai. Depending on your interests, you can go in the morning when it's sort of dying down, or you can go at 5 o'clock in the morning when it's in full swing and it's really bustling with activity of all these people collecting fish. So to give you an example of the excursions and the places that you can visit, here is an example of the paper market, where people maybe again very early in the morning, 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, collect the newspapers and recycle them and read them and put them together on bicycles, so that we can see the intensity of the day-to-day. Here we have an example of the flower market. The Indians love flowers. They decorate for all the celebrations, decorate themselves, weddings, and funerals and all these different events that you can have. This is all done by hand. Then you have, for example, here a market. Well, a market is where people bring their clothes to be washed. And these people who live there specialize in washing clothes, and they live above these. So these areas, it's fascinating in everywhere we go. And this is an example of a spice market. Here you can see how the spices are made. India is so well known for the spices and obviously the cuisine, which is very spicy. And I happened to actually taken this picture. I was talking with this lady. She had a special mix, a favorite mix that she ordered, and which was roasted in there, and then was taken into the shop to be made into powder by these machines, by these people, these men who were there. And she went away with 5 kilos of garam masala that was a family's favorite, which would last her 1 year. This is another example of the wealth of experiences in India when you go on an excursion where you have extremely well prepared temples and decorated. And this was possible because, again, the person I was with spoke the language, and we went in a temple that was actually being built in Palitana. This is a Jain temple, which is a very interesting philosophy, way of life, in tune with nature. And there was a man carving these stones so carefully. You can see how elaborate this temple is. This is another example of the architecture. And this is a case of an Hindu temple where people were very welcoming, perfectly happy to take pictures, to talk to us, to look inside. And at the same time, there are some Muslim temples, again, in the same way. People themselves are found extremely hospitable. I mean, this lady was so happy to show us how she was ironing with an iron that was heated well, I think these are it's coals, small coals. And this couple had just been married, and that was their mother. They were very happy to talk to us about their wedding. And these girls were taking pictures here in a monument. They were tourists within their own country, and it was really fascinating to be involved with all these people. This is an example of trips outside the town, and local people very willing and happy to talk and to tell us about themselves. So this is another example. Numerous shopkeepers. This is the kind of thing that you would experience in a day. And then for dinner, an example of a restaurant where you have tables outside on the roof, warm and excellent cuisine and music and the view. So now that I've set the setting for what India, or a little bit of what India is about, I'd like to bring in my colleague Marianne to continue. So Marianne, if you ask to approve to share the screen.
I think, Paolo, you have to share your screen. You unshare your screen.
Sorry, we just we mentioned that.
Have I got the screen now? Yes.
No. Yeah. No. I have to share the screen. Sorry, we're just going to continue in one moment. There you are. Now it's yours. Carry on, Marianne.
Well, thank you very much. And excuse me a moment. Oh, there we go. Sorry, I didn't have control. My name is Marianne, and I'm delighted to speak for Veloso. I've been living and working with India for 35 years, and it's been a major part of my life. India is the most extraordinary land. It is very much a bug, which if you get it, you'll find yourself returning again and again. It's an extraordinary country. It's an invasion of the senses in every way. It's color, it's contrast, it's noise, it's smells, all of it totally different to anything you would have experienced before. And as Paolo said, it really is a must. I think everyone should go there at least once in their lifetime. It's religiously hugely tolerant and fascinating. It's a melting pot of religions that all live side by side happily. And actually many religions overlap with each other. One adopts another aspect of another. It's a very diverse religious place to travel in, all over the north and the south. Equally, India is a country that's very modern yet very traditional. It's probably more technologically advanced than many other countries in Europe. At the same time, its tradition is its heart. Its faith is what drives its people. And you will find this tradition everywhere you go, particularly if you get slightly out of the cities into the countryside, which is what I'll be talking a little bit about today. And as it says on the slide, it's probably one of the most welcoming countries you will ever visit. The people are so friendly and welcoming and embracing. They're inquisitive, they want to talk to you, they like to touch you. Above all, they want to ask you into their homes and just enjoy being with you. And actually, as an Englishman traveling in India, you have the double bonus. There really is no language problem. It's very easy to travel around because so many people speak English. Even if it's not perfect, it's very much understandable. The food, again, something that's absolutely wonderful. It's so diverse. Every different region of India has different cuisine. At the same time, if you want to eat pasta or Oriental or Western cuisine, you can do that now in many hotels. It's very sophisticated in that way. Many people sometimes have a fear of traveling to India about getting ill or other aspects, but there is really no reason to have fear. It's a very, very safe place to travel in. You don't need any jabs, but it's worth having some. In terms of looking after your own health, again, avoiding street food, avoiding jumping straight into spicy food is a good idea because it's not so much that it's bad, it's the different oils and spices they use that we're not used to. And you can end up with a slightly runny tummy for a day or two, but very rarely do people get ill. Mosquitoes are looked after and dealt with very well in each hotel. And the biggest thing to look after yourself is really only drink mineral water from a bottle that is sealed. Ice, again, a no-no, but the one mainstay of all this is just don't drink the water in the shower. Keep your mouth shut in the shower. Next time you try that at home, you'll be amazed how much water you find yourself ingesting without knowing it. And it's a surefire way to get ill in India because the water is not the cleanest. Again, traveling to India is an art form, really, and I would urge anyone to travel through a tour operator. They make it easy, they know the country, they know where to go, they'll listen to you and get the hotels and price and itinerary right for you. Equally, during times like COVID, they'll be fully up to date on what's happening where is a safer place to be, and equally, if something goes wrong, they will be there on hand to fix it. They will have drivers that know the way, that speak the local language, that cars will be checked for safety. And it's, I think, an essential part of Indian travel is to have someone arranging it for you because it takes all the hassle out of it. Just trying to enter a monument without a pre-advanced walk ticket, you could wait 2 hours. So traveling through a tour operator, particularly for the first time you visit, and with the knowledge like Veloso has, I think is really a good idea. As to when to travel to India, yes, the best time is really October to March. In the south, it can start a little later, but October and March are warm, sunny, lovely months to travel. The pools are warm, you're eating al fresco. In the northern states of Rajasthan, it can be a little chilly in December, January, but all the hotels are heated and indoor dining rooms. Up in the Himalayas, it's the summertime to travel and it's a beautiful time to be there. It's a place for all seasons, India. You can go somewhere at some time and the weather will be perfect. It's a fantastic country to travel to, and as a family destination even more so, because there's so much for the young to do, and for them it'll be an eye-opener like they've never had. If we move on, I'll just show you a few slides. Again, talking of religion, the festivals you'll see in India. This is a picture of people celebrating Holi. People call it the colour throwing festival. It's harvest festival. It's a wonderful time to be in India, but you do have to be prepared to have paint thrown at you. So put your dirtiest clothes on. Early morning visiting markets is an amazing thing to do. It's when the cities come alive. It's full of colour, full of vibrancy, full of noise and clutter, and it's very, very exciting. It's not threatening. India is a country with a high population. There are a lot of people about, but it is in no way threatening at all. This is typical scene, ladies possibly going early morning to the temple. And again, another example of a man taking a bit of time out in a basket market. Just looking at this picture, the colours and shapes and everything about it is something you won't see anywhere else in the world. It's a very special place in that respect. If you're visiting the villages, getting out of the cities, this would be typical local man's cottage. Again, it looks very simple to us, but he would be immaculately proud of it. It would be kept spotless, and often you'll be invited inside. And on these journeys that Veloso will organise, I would urge you to combine some of the cities with the countryside places, where you have gorgeous little hotels to explore and stay in. It cuts journey times down, and you have a chance to really immerse yourself in village India, in the real India. It's where you see the markets, it's where you can talk to people locally, and the cities have extraordinary architecture and are wonderful places to visit, but can be noisy. And if you want to just have a bit of time out in your itinerary, go off into the countryside where you'll be well looked after. Typical example of sadhus who you will see all around India, wherever you go. Again, completely different religion, animist. You'll find festivals like this happening everywhere in India at some time. Throughout the year, there are festivals being celebrated somewhere, and they're incredibly good fun to go and enjoy. This is in Varanasi, young boys on the banks of the Ganga. Again, faith is what drives a lot of the Indian people, and it comes completely naturally. It's not something that they feel they must do or be obliged to do. It's part of their daily life. Out in the villages, you'll find you can interact with children more than anything. They're gorgeous, they're smiley, they come up and they want to feel you, particularly your blonde hair, they like feeling your hair. They will gather around you. They won't necessarily crowd you completely, they'll gather around. Again, if you go to the villages, you might be asked to spend an afternoon teaching the children whatever you know in the local school. This is my husband giving a little lesson to some village children, which they just loved. And then again, that's Berenice with young children. Wherever you go, there's people around who will love to chat to you. And on that subject, I'm going to now take you on to a few of the hotels that are deliciously comfortable out in the countryside in both North and South India, well, Rajasthan and Kerala really, or Tamil Nadu, where we're concentrating on at the moment. First hotel is a tented camp, possibly one of the most exquisite tented camps you will find in India. It's called Sherbagh by Sujan. It's at Ranthambore National Park, which fits in beautifully onto itineraries because it's close to Delhi, Agra, Jaipur, and many country hotels. It's just 12 really seriously comfortable tents, part of Relais Chateau, and they have expert guides, naturalists, all on site. And Ranthambore is known for its tiger population. This is one of the tents there. It's actually one of the suites, so it has a sitting room, but the other rooms are very similar to this. And tiger sightings here have been exceptionally good. The season for tigers is really October to April. Camps open in October, but it tends to be slightly better sightings towards the end of the season when the grasses are low and there's less water. The animals have to come out to drink. And it's an amazing experience. It's not like going on safari in Africa where you see game spread out before you. It's very much something you hunt for. You may not see a tiger on 2, 3, 4 drives, but usually you will, and particularly in Ranthambore. Moving on to a lovely little palace hotel called the Haveli, which is really a mansion. This is the townhouse of the Samod family in Jaipur, which is the Pink City. This is one of the only beautiful boutique traditional hotels in the heart of the old city. The joy of that is you can just get up and walk out into the streets and immerse yourself. It's incredibly comfortable, beautifully decorated. This is the sitting room, which in winter is wonderfully cozy. And in many of these Havelis around India, you will see these extraordinary frescoed walls, painted walls. And Samod is known hugely for its frescoes. It's an extraordinary place. You do feel you are in a bygone age, and understand a little bit about how the upper classes in India used to live. This is the swimming pool. Again, you want for nothing here. And it's also better priced than some of the larger, bigger hotels. Moving out of Jaipur, again, just very close by, so very easy to get to from one place to another, avoiding long car journeys. This is a tented camp, which is really geared around elephant welfare and camel welfare. They have resident elephants here that have been rescued or abandoned and taken in. There is no riding of elephants here. It is all about the elephant life. You fit in with that. You go with the rhythm of the elephant. You walk with it, you bathe it, or with the camels. And there are 6 tents here into 2 camps, both of them exclusive. So you could be a couple in 2 tents and have it to yourself, or 4 of you, or 16 of you in the 4-tented camp. And again, it's a wonderful place to be if you love elephants. You want to be in the countryside, close to Jaipur to go shopping, and just get out into the wilderness and spend time with elephants and camels. It's a truly special place, which you don't really have an opportunity to do in many other places in India. A short distance away from there, I say short, by Indian standards, 4 hours is short. There's a lot of driving in India, but it's all wonderful, and you stop on the way and your eyes are open wherever you go. Shahpurabad is a delightful little place with 9 rooms in central Rajasthan, family run. And this is a place to go where you can spend a lot of time with the family and taste delicious local home cooking, family recipes set down over centuries. There are lakes, you can go bicycling, you can get out into the village just on foot. You can walk in and just drown yourself in colour. The rooms, this is a typical bedroom, as you can see, despite being in the middle of the countryside. They're beautifully done, large, spacious, air-conditioned, Wi-Fi, great swimming pools, ridiculously big pool, but a beautiful pool all the time. If you want to immerse yourself in the village, you can, or you can just chill out here chatting to the family. We're now moving down to South India, to Kochi, formerly Cochin, and to Brunton's Boatyard, which was a former British boatyard. Most of Cochin's architecture is Dutch. This is British, and it's a fantastic hotel with 39 rooms on the edge of the harbour, and most of the rooms have harbour views. There are lovely gardens to sit in, alfresco dining, and it's a great place run by a group called CGH Earth, who are very well respected and known for their environmental policies. And they were really the pioneers in Kerala of taking the environment into consideration with how they run their hotels. Cochin is a fantastic place to explore on foot. And this is a typical bedroom there, looking over the harbour. You can see the ferries coming and going while having breakfast on your balcony. The climate down south is warm throughout the year. You never ever need to eat indoors. Kerala is also known for its spices. It's in the heart of tea country, spice country. It's jungle, it's dripping, it's green, it's hot, it's humid. And this is another very special little place, the Shalimar Spice Garden, which is really the only small boutique hotel in the area. The others tend to be a little larger, catering more to groups than individual travellers. It's in the heart of its own spice garden, which is great to explore. And it comprises various little more contemporary villas and traditional Malayali, which is Kerala style cottages, which are predominantly made of wood. It's rustic, it's simple, and it's beautiful. You'll eat delicious food from Kerala. Apologies, I've jumped on. And again, they all have swimming pools. They all have down south mainly Ayurvedic centres. And this is a perfect base for exploring Periyar National Park, which is home to really predominantly elephants and just pottering around by boat. A wonderful place to explore. Then moving on, we come to the coast. This is up in North Kerala, Nileshwar Hermitage. It's in my view possibly India's best beach hotel, in as much as it's on a really what's pretty well a private long stretch of beach. There's virtually nothing else there. You could walk for miles down this beach and not see anything. Few shacks, tiny little guest houses, and Nileshwar is a fabulous place. It takes quite a while to get to because it's in the north, but it's a great excuse to get on a train and travel up country. And the train hugs the coast, and it stops everywhere, and it's a very good way to travel in India. It's an experience to be had, and I would urge everyone to have it. And this has 18 rather beautiful villas, rather sort of Thai Balinese in style. Again, all handcrafted by local artisans. Everything has been made on site. It's a wonderful place for Ayurveda, for yoga, for massage, for exploring locally by bike along the beach pathways, and seeing local Tayan dances, which is traditional dancing and martial arts. And it's a perfect way to finish a trip, I would say, or just come for time out for a week on a beach, easily accessed from Bangalore and Bombay, all the major hubs. And then moving inland into Tamil Nadu, which is really known more as Temple Country, but this is Rajasthan Estate, which actually forms very easily got to from eastern Kerala. And for those who had enough of temples and really had their fill of seeing architecture, this is the most gorgeous little place in the middle of the hills in a coffee estate, pepper estate, very easily got to from Madurai, about 1 hour from there, near a place called Dindigul. This is an old Malayali palace, which was actually picked up piece by piece, well, dismantled, picked up, driven into Tamil Nadu and rebuilt as it was. And it's the most beautiful place to stay, run by an Englishman and his coffee estate manager. And it boasts what is probably one of the best yoga platforms in the world, I'd say. Doing yoga there is truly a magical experience. And it just shows really what you can do out in the countryside in India. The cities are fantastic, but getting out into the countryside is what it's all about, to see the real India. And I will now hand you over to Berenice. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Marianne. So before going into Rajasthan and the southwest of India, I'm just going to add another property here. I'm just checking if I do have access to the screen. Yes, perfect. So this property is actually called the Dehradun Desert Hotel. It is located in the Thar Desert, which is actually in the natural boundary between India and Pakistan. So we tend to stay one night there. It's a really nice property for alternative travel. So it is actually a 16 cottage set at the top of 100 feet sand dune. So as you can see on that pictures, you arrive with your 4x4 and you arrive in this hotel, which is like kind of a Rajasthani fort in the middle of nowhere, overlooking the desert, which is absolutely stunning. It's like actually kind of an oasis, to be honest, in the desert. You can also enjoy unique experience there, like camel safari, or even meeting local people, because the people are actually different than the other people you will meet in the other parts of India. It also have very good restaurants with special Rajasthani food, and you also have a large swimming pool, as you can see at the bottom of my screen. And this swimming pool is special because you can actually relax and just enjoy the beautiful view that you have from the pool. We've got actually a special guest coming for us today, who is actually in the Thar Desert. It's one of our guides, who is called Shatan Singh. So he will talk to you a little bit about his experience as a guide and the region itself as well, which is an amazing region. So Shatan, the floor is yours. I am just going to unshare my screen that everyone can see you, and you can start talking to our guest, Shatan.
Namaste, everyone. I am Shatan Singh from India. I am from the most colorful and cultural state, Rajasthan. I am leading tours since last 9 years. And in my career, I like to share more about the customs and about the local lifestyle. I'm today wearing a turban because I am attending one of my aunt's son's wedding. So in my region, people wear turban. Just by looking at the turban, one can identify the caste of the person. So I'm a warrior, so I'm totally dressed up in my community attire. Like it's an arranged marriage. 2 days back, it was my younger brother's marriage, and still we are following the old traditional setup. Like the family decides to whom you are getting married. I saw my wife 2 days after my marriage. So on the tour, I like to introduce this small like cultural differences, and I try to introduce you to clients about the different attire, the 36 communities where we have around 36 communities in Rajasthan. And as I'm a warrior, we live in a joint family, and I'm living in the same house with my grandmother, my parents, my wife, and my son. So we all live in the same house. And we, I always learn stories from my grandmother, and I try to share all those all the folklores and all from whatever I've learned from them, and just try to make it. And again, we have other communities living here, like some of them are called Bishnois. And something unique about the Bishnois is they worship nature. They are the one who protects the plants and animals. They think that these animals and plants are their ancestors. So they are basically the farmer community, and we have a lot of folklore stories related to them. One of them is like, we do get the domicile cranes coming from Mongolia, Siberia, and Uzbekistan, and all those areas. And the story says that once the two cranes, they lost their path and they came to this desert areas, the Thar Desert. So just imagine, the birds, cranes are used to eat fishes and all, but when they came over here, they were fed like buckwheat grains, which was definitely not good for their digestion. But the farmers, they again offered them the black rock stones, and by that the digestion fruit. And those two, they like this area so much that now we are getting thousands of their friends coming here in winters. So there's something unique. And those birds, they eat fish when they go back to the Central Asian countries, and when they come to Rajasthan, especially with Vishnois, they have adopted that vegetarian and their own cultures and all. So it's something unique what we have over here. So today I'm dressed up with this thing, and the wedding is around 12:30 in the night. So there are wedding times which we have to follow. So I'm sitting here like this and waiting for the time to come so that I can go and be part of the whole procession. In this state, we have a desert, and as my colleague said, we have the dunes, and on the dunes, believe me, Dera Dunes is an amazing hotel which is right in our area, and one can come and enjoy and experience the culture differences and all. So I look forward to meet you all one day in my beautiful state, and I'd like to show you and experience the whole culture with you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Shatan. I'm just going to share my screen again, and we can start talking about the region of the Rajasthan. So let me just try to control the screen. And here we are. Just let me try. There we go, perfect. So I'm going to talk to you with my colleague Sanjay about the main attractions that you will find in the Western India. So I will talk about the capital city Delhi, Agra, as well as a few cities that you will find in the state of the Rajasthan. And then my colleague Sanjay will talk about the southwest with Kerala, Hampi, and some of beautiful cruises that you find in this region. Going to Delhi now. So Delhi is the capital city. You usually arrive and depart from Delhi when you visit the Rajasthan. If you visit the southwest of India, like Kerala or even MP, you will have to go to and from Mumbai or Kochi. And my colleague Sanjay will talk to you a little bit more about those cities. Otherwise, you arrive in Delhi. So Delhi has been the historic capital of several Indian empires, such as the Mughals. So the Mughals are actually one of the most well-known empires of India because they have been building amazing monuments, such as the Taj Mahal. So this is the kind of architectures on these pictures that you will see, which is the Mughal architectures. And there are plenty of monuments in Delhi with these beautiful architectures. Example of the best attraction here that you can find in Delhi. On the left, you have the Qutub Minar, which is a stunning minaret classified UNESCO World Heritage Site. You have the emblem, like the symbol of Delhi, which is the India Gate. It's also a war memorial. And then you have the beautiful Lotus Temple, which is surrounded by a stunning garden on the top of my screen, as you can see here. This is me in Delhi. I was here in Qutub Minar minaret, so you can see the beautiful carvings here. And then this is me on the streets of Delhi because it's one of the experience you can enjoy in the capital city. So just walking around, look at people, see their custom, their tradition, the shopkeeper. It's one of the best experiences. You just walk for a few hours and you just get to know this amazing city. Going down now to Agra, which is just a few hours drive south from the capital, Delhi. It is obviously the home of the amazing Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal is actually a tomb which has been built for the wife of the Emperor Shah Jahan in the 17th century. So it is also from the Mongol Empire. It is now declared one of the 7 wonders of the world. So if you are in this region, or if you visit the Rajasthan or even the capital city, we do recommend to visit Agra because it's a very stunning place. You will tend to stay one night there because you obviously have the Taj Mahal that you will stay the afternoon or even the whole day if you want. But then there are plenty of other attractions. As you can see on the right of the screen, there is the Red Fort of Agra, which is a stunning monument. And you also have a lot of gardens like the Metaba Gardens on the top of my screen. This is me actually posing like the traditional pose of, when you go to the Taj Mahal, and I choose the other pictures on the left because you actually can see this beautiful white ivory marble, which, belongs to the Taj Mahal. Is absolutely stunning. People are, local people are trying to clean it like the whole day to make it very, even more beautiful than it is. And you can see some writing in Arabs on the side. Going down now to the west of the beautiful state of Rajasthan. So Rajasthan is probably the most famous state of the whole India because that's usually the state that you will visit for your first time in India. That's the first state you will tend to visit. It's very well known for its colorful streets, majestic forts, as well as huge Maharaja palaces. You can see also this is a traditional outfit from Rajasthan, from the lady. So that's also, you know, full of, you know, festivals, colors, paintings, and it's an absolutely stunning state to visit. There are 4 cities that you can visit when you go to Rajasthan. There is Jaipur, Udaipur, Jodhpur, and Jaisalmer, and we will go through those 4 cities for you to see a little bit more about them. The first one is Jaipur. So it is the capital and the largest city of Rajasthan. It's actually a relatively young city compared to the rest of Rajasthan because it has been built in the 18th century. It is also called the Pink City due to the dominant color palette of its building. As you can see on that pictures, which is actually the stunning palace of Hawa Mahal, the colors are pink, and all the monuments and all the buildings from Jaipur are from, you know, colored with this pink color. It is, I mean, the main attraction of Jaipur is the Amer Fort, which is not located into the city center. It's a bit more north of the city, but it's definitely a must. It's belonging to a Mughal as well empire. You can see this kind of architecture when you go there. It's also, I mean, there's a museum inside. So absolutely a stunning place to go. This is me actually in the Ahmed Fort, and then just next to it on the left you have the Albert Hall Museum, because Jaipur is also famous for its museum. So the Albert Hall Museum is one of the best museum of India, and it's got a rich collection of artifacts including painting, jewelries, or even sculpture. Going down now to Udaipur, which is the second city you will find in Rajasthan. It's also known as the City of the Lakes because of its sophisticated lake system. It has been built actually along five lakes, but the city is also known for its historic forts and palaces, gallery, beautiful gardens, and a lot of festivals are going. You can see a lot of festival when you go there. The main attraction of the city is the city palace, as you can see on the top right of the screen. Stunning monument in the Mughal as well architecture. There's a museum inside. It's also very interesting to just spend a few hours in this museum. There is another museum as well called Bago Kiavali, as you can see on the right, left of my screen with me just in front of it, to just show what the local people are doing, artifacts. It's also very interesting. And in Udaipur as well, you can enjoy a lot of old temples. So that's the Jagish temple at the bottom of the screen, which I believe has been built in the 5th century. So amazing Jain temple here in Udaipur. The good things about Udaipur as well is that you can really enjoy the evenings. So you can walk around the lakes, and especially on along this monument called the Ghats. So the Ghats in Hindi mean river landing stair. So pretty amazing, because it's really hot there. So in the evening you can enjoy, walk around, see people, enjoy, beautiful architectures and monuments around the Ghats. But Udaipur is also famous for its rooftop. So you do have a lot of rooftop there. This is me overlooking the city palace, and there's another picture with a couple here enjoying delicious food of Rajasthan and overlooking beautiful lakes. Actually, in the middle of the lakes, where you can see all those, kind of a lights, it's the Moon Palace. It's quite famous for wedding. A lot of people are just renting it for weddings, so you can hear music, you can see like lights, and it's actually an experience to. It's something to experience when you are on the rooftops of Udaipur. Going down now to the third city of Rajasthan, which is Jodhpur. It is actually historically the capital of the Kingdom of Mawar, so definitely and slightly different architectures here than the Mughal that we have seen previously, but still featuring many palaces, forts, or even temple. The main attraction here is the Mangrat Fort, as you can see here on these pictures. It's actually one of the largest forts of India, and it has been built in the 15th century. Amazing place, and inside you've got actually the city palace, which is now a museum. So in this museum, you can see like golden carriage, but you can also see a lot of painting, jewelries, and how the Maharaja used to live. A few centuries ago. So very interesting. You can definitely spend the whole morning or the whole afternoon in this city palace fort of Jaipur. That's actually the main entrance of the city palace. So absolutely stunning. Another main attraction that you can do also in Jaipur is the Jawan Tada, which is, we used to serve as a cremation ground for the royal Rajput family of Mawar. So very similar to the Taj Mahal, obviously smaller, but same architectures, white, very marble. Local people are always, make it very tidy, beautiful, clean. So as you can see, is me sitting down. You can actually, easily sitting down and just, meditate and just enjoy this beautiful monument. And you can also enjoy the fort, because from this monument you can see the Jodhpur fort. So amazing view and amazing place to relax and meditate. So. Finally, the fourth city of Rajasthan, which is Jaisalmer, slightly different than the other one because it's really located to the west parts of Rajasthan. So it's at the entrance of the Thar Desert. And as I said previously, this desert is actually the natural boundary between India and Pakistan. So completely different completely different city compared to the previous cities that we saw before. It's also called the Golden City because, as you can see, all the monuments are slightly colored with this special sand, which make it very yellow, very golden. So absolutely stunning. You have two parts of the city. You have the fort, which inside you have a city center. So very easy to walk around, see local people, markets, and the main attraction inside the fort. So that's one part, in the morning or in the afternoon. And then you have the second part of the town, which is slightly a little bit more modern, but you can still see local life, peoples and markets, which is at the bottom of the fort. There are also lots of avalis and shatris. So avalis is actually a traditional town house, and shatris is those dome-shaped pavilions, as you can see at the top of my screen. So that was it for the Rajasthan, Delhi and Agra for my part. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Sanjay. We will talk more about the southwest of India, including Kerala and the beautiful archaeological site of MP. So Sanjay, the floor is yours. I'm going to give my remote control.
Thank you very much, Bernice. Welcome, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you all. I'm right now speaking from Delhi. I will take you from Rajasthan to Kerala on the southwest coast of India. It is a completely different culture. The natural heritage is different. The sceneries are very different. India is a land of 19 languages and over 1,600 dialects. So when you travel to different parts of the country, the culture changes completely. And this is a completely different experience than what Bernice was talking about. Kerala has been called the God's own country. It's a melting pot of pretty much all major religions. You have Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Jewish communities. It's a real melting pot of lovely cultures, and everybody living together harmoniously and since centuries. And Kerala is a very tropical place. It's very green. National Geographic in 1990s called it as one of the 3 most beautiful places in the world. And when you travel through the region, you are seeing I have not got the remote control, sorry. Give me 1 minute for getting the technical aspect sorted out. Thank you. It's also a place which has a lot of forests, a lot of wildlife, elephants, bisons, various kinds of primates, various kinds of birds. It's very, very rich in bird life. It is also a place where you go in Periyar National Park, do a boat safari, which is really lovely because you see a lot of wildlife and you see a lot of bird life as you travel in the boats doing the boat safari. It's also one of the places where the English breakfast black tea comes from. There are 3 regions of India which are very, very rich in tea cultivation, and Munnar in Kerala is one of those areas. As you can see, this is very green, very tropical, very lush. It's an area full of rainforests. You can see how tea is collected, how it is sorted out, and then finally prepared. And you come into the backwaters of Kerala. This is a waterways which is lakes, lagoons, rivers, and canals, all linked together, flowing down along the Arabian Sea through very green countryside. So it has been called the Green Venice of the East. It's also been called the Emerald Waterways. You have a combination of big waters, and then you have a combination of narrow waters through which you navigate. The Vaikundam is a 9-cabin cruise boat. It has a sun deck, a restaurant, a bar, lounge. It has an Ayurvedic massage room where you can get a little bit of spa experience. It's a wooden boat. As you can see, it is very comfortable, and we can do from 2 nights to 7-night cruises in the Kerala backwaters, which is a lovely experience. A lot of birds, you see a lot of temples, a lot of churches, you visit a lot of villages, you experience the life of artisans, fishermen, boat building yards, building traditional wooden boats. You see a lot of life on the waterways. Many places you are cruising in canals which are as wide as the boat itself is, and you're just 30 feet or 40 feet away from the houses on the banks, and you're literally looking into their windows, seeing how they are living. And you are sometimes cruising in canals which are 20 feet above the paddy field, held together by dikes. So you're cruising up there and people are working down there. Some places you're cruising where you're separated from the sea by a narrow beach. And you are literally looking at the Arabian Sea while you're cruising. The villages have a lot of art, a lot of artisanry work. It's really, really beautiful. Now, when you come to South India, Kerala, of course, is a great tropical waterways countryside. You also come to a place which we recommend very highly, which is Hampi. This is another UNESCO World Heritage Site. We call it the Taj Mahal of South India. It is a sprawling region full of temples and palaces, and was the capital of one of the most powerful empires of South India, the Vijayanagara Empire. And Hampi being an area which, a destination which has recently got linked with flights, has become a great attraction in South India. From south, this is what you see around. There are almost like about 10 square kilometers of monuments in this whole region. It's a valley, which is just full of various ancient structures, which go back to the 13th century. So they're really old and really beautiful. And a lot of them are still preserved. let me bring you from South India to the northeastern part of India. This is an area called Assam. It is just south of Bhutan, north of Bangladesh, west from Myanmar, and south also from China, from the Tibetan part of China. The Brahmaputra River is one of the 10 great rivers of the world by discharge. It is also the last geographical riddle that was solved by the Royal Geographical Society in Asia. It took almost 200 years to trace the journey of this river, which starts from Tibet, crosses the entire Tibetan plateau, takes a sharp bend down south, which is called the Great Bend. And that was solved after 200 years of exploration. And it was realized that this Brahmaputra River and the Yarlung Sangpo, as it's called in Tibet, is one river. It takes this bend, forming the greatest gorge on earth, pretty much ending the Himalayas there, and then comes descending down 10,000 feet in a 100-kilometer distance into the valley of Assam, where it is the Brahmaputra River. The Brahmaputra River is also the world's only navigable river from which you are seeing over 7,000-meter high snow-covered Himalayan mountains. And it is also flowing through the Kaziranga National Park, which is a UNESCO Natural Heritage Site and the greatest preserve of the single-horned rhinos on Earth. The MV Mahabahu, Sunday Times called this cruise as one of the top 50 adventure holidays on Earth. And the Travel Insider magazine of Qantas Airlines called it one of the top 10 river cruise experiences of the world. It's a 23-cabin ship with 5 decks. And it is a ship which has a swimming pool, a spa, and an elevator for passengers to go up the 4 decks out of 5. Restaurant, bar, lounge, very comfortable cabins, big windows, and a lot of activities on board. We do a 7-night cruise on this cruise ship. A lot of talks, lectures, indoor games, a lot of fun evenings, traditional evening. There's one traditional evening where everybody dresses up in a traditional dress if they want to. And it's a party that happens. So a lot of fun on the cruise itself. You see a lot of culture when you're sailing. You are visiting tribal villages, weavers' villages, temples, monasteries, tea plantations. Assam is what gave birth to the English breakfast tea. It was here that the black tea was first discovered as a wild plant and then later refined. And that's what you have as your morning cuppa. And then you sail through Kaziranga National Park. You have the national park on both sides, over 2,400 single-horned rhinos. You will, in a safari, end up seeing at least 30, 40 rhinos, 3,100 wild buffaloes. This is the wild buffalo with the widest set of horns. You have over 1,600 elephants, freshwater dolphins, 116 tigers. You have 480 species of migratory birds. It's very rich in natural history and natural heritage as a destination. And I will hand over to Hugh, who will take you through the different programs of Veloso Tours. It was a pleasure speaking to you all. Thank you, and have a lovely evening.
Thanks very much, Sanjay. Thank you very much indeed. I'm going to just want to check I'm in control of the screen here. Let me just check. Yeah, I think I am. Okay, so I'm just going to finally finish the presentation by taking you through some of the itineraries that we feature on our website. Of course, the first thing to say is that we can tailor make any itinerary subject entirely to your needs and interests in India. But I hope today there's been some stimulation in terms of some of the destinations you might want to visit. And also the suggested itineraries here can be adapted quite easily. Our sort of classic Rajasthan tour, what we call the Maharaja tour, you can see here, covers all the main cities like Agra and the Taj Mahal, Jaipur, Udaipur, Jodhpur, but also we've added in stay in the desert that Berenice talked about earlier. So this is a very popular itinerary, and one if you were the first timer person going to Rajasthan that we would recommend taking. The next program sort of draws on what Marianne was saying about some of the more alternative accommodations that are available in Rajasthan. And so again, you can see the main highlights, you know, the Taj and Jaipur, but also get off the beaten track to some of the villages that she talked about at places like Shapura, and a fort stay, perhaps at Sudagara Fort, for example, and maybe a night at the Elephant Sanctuary in Dera Amma would be a fantastic experience. So, you know, there's lots of options, but that would be very different and a slightly slower paced itinerary. The next one is, here we go, is the Assam tour. And this basically is the way in which you would connect with the Brahmaputra cruise that Sanjay was talking about just now. You'd fly to Calcutta and maybe have a couple, 2 or 3 days in Calcutta, and then fly up to Guwahati for a 7-night cruise. Now, the beauty of this program is that, of course, it can be added to quite easily to a whole range of different options. You could either do a tour of Rajasthan, perhaps go and visit Varanasi on the Ganges. And actually, a lot of people like to combine this program with a trip to Bhutan because the flight arrangements between Guwahati and Paru are quite convenient. So that's another option that you could consider. And I would be amiss of a show today not to talk about the other river, the other major river, of course, the sacred river, the Holy Ganges. And I put this one in only because you can see how it's quite easily combinable. You can do 7 or 6 night river cruises on the Ganges. On the lower part, on the Hooghly, we tend to focus on more, a number of reasons, but it's from Calcutta on a lovely ship called the Raj Mahal. But again, very combinable, perhaps with a stay in Varanasi and a week in the Golden Triangle area of Rajasthan. So the Ganges, you can river cruise on the Ganges, and that would be an option for you to consider. One of the other areas of interest is to perhaps combine a trip in the north with the south, and so we call it the Golden Tour. So again, you would spend some time exploring Rajasthan, going to Ranthambore National Park for a 4x4 safari, Jaipur. And because of the explosion of domestic airlines nowadays, it's so easy to get around. You just fly south to Kochi and perhaps spend some time in the tea plantations and the wildlife sanctuary of Periyar before taking perhaps a short Backwaters cruise and spending some relaxing time on the beach. A great way to sort of see both areas of India in one trip. Heading south and for a more in-depth exploration of the south, combining Tamil Nadu and Kerala, is what we call the Meenakshi tour. And here you fly to Chennai and then explore Tamil Nadu, which, as has been said before, is really much a region known for its temples. But perhaps what is not so well known is a place called Pondicherry, which is actually a French colonial town, resort town by the sea, where you'll see literally it's like being in France. The architecture is of a European nature, and you can buy croissants from the bakeries. It's just got a real European flavor. But then you'd head inland to some of the amazing cultural delights of Tamil Nadu, particularly Madurai, where you see the Meenakshi temple, which is quite an incredible place. It receives about 10,000 pilgrims a day. And it's not the only one. There are lots of others as well of equal standing in the area. And if you were to stay perhaps in the property that Marianne mentioned, then they're all within a reasonable traveling distance of each other. And then from there, you travel overland into Kerala for a few nights, exploring the wildlife and tea plantations, as we said, in the sort of lush green hills, quite cooling hills above the sea, and then continue to Kochi, and again the classic combination of a backwaters cruise and a time on the beach. A lovely holiday, and I think anyone looking to go south, it would be a shame not to experience Tamil Nadu. Oh, and one other thing with Tamil Nadu, which is very important, is it has some of the spiciest food of India, so well worth experiencing that. Now, just finally, to draw on what Sanjay was saying about Hampi, which has really become quite a draw, and would be highly recommended for people that are really interested in monuments and the cultural side and some of the ancient history of India. So you can, on this itinerary which we've constructed, you can fly to Hyderabad, have a couple of nights in Hampi, and again, using very convenient domestic flights, take a flight down to Kochi for a time in Kerala as described before. So I hope that is that covers our presentation today, and I hope you found it really interesting. And I just want to open the floor to anybody who might have any questions. I'm just clicking on the last slide. There we go. If there's any questions, thank you very much for attending. And if there's anybody got any questions, do please ask now, or if you haven't, then do please send us some questions after the webinar.
Thank you so much, Hugh. So we don't have any question so far on the chat, but as you said, if anyone has any question or wants to have more information about India, then you know our email address, our website, and we'll be happy to answer.
That's it. Thank you very much. So I hope you enjoyed this webinar, and do come back to us anytime with questions, and thank you for participating.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.